Happy Easter. JJ, the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. We are doing a special edition today. So glad to see you. Thank you, Jean. Great to see you today. It is a little cool outside. Amanda's holding the phone for me. So happy Easter. I'll get into it. Today we are doing a special real estate edition for those that manage, sell, rent, own, flip, invest in. Hey, what's up? Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. So anyways, today for the real estate industry, no one's probably doing open houses unless they're virtual. So I'm doing an open house for you, JJ the CPA. So come on in. Come on in. We're going to go live today. We're going to be talking about the real estate. This is my open house, JJ the CPA's open house for reality. All right, for reality, I mean for the show. All right, come on in. All right, we'll go in. Welcome to my home. I won't show you around because I know everybody's here to get some tax advice, but come on in. We will get set up. We're ready to go already. Hopefully everybody can hear us. All right. All right, so special edition. Whoops, we're gonna need the other chair. Do you mind moving that one? Happy Easter, everybody. We got our peeps here. So thank you for joining me today. For those of you that are celebrating Easter and you're watching another day, we are today going to run just talking real estate. So I understand that there'll probably be a number of people maybe that are going to catch it at a later time. We've got a number of emails that we have already on the real estate aspect. And we're going to talk about the PPP. We'll talk about EIDL, the unemployment. We'll address real estate from the standpoint of sole proprietor. So a lot of you that are sole proprietors, maybe not in real estate, will be able to pick up some tips, so to speak, of where we're at. Let me give you an update here in a second. We're gonna adjust this a little. And then am I able to get it to where I can see comments too? Because remember I was gonna, on this episode, I was gonna try and flash or watch the flash of questions. Okay, so let's see. We need to just remember what. So basically a little bit of an update from basically yesterday is that we are still wanting to get some more details related to the unemployment. I did find a website that I thought would be helpful, but depending on what state you're in, it may not be up and running. The hope is that sometime maybe in this next week, I hear that there'll be maybe a different rollout or a better rollout. I'm not sure really what that entails. I am quite disappointed, as I'm sure many of you are, that unemployment is not already up and running. The reason we're moving around is if you got to see the beginning, I started outside and walked you in because we're having an open house for those that are in the real estate industry here on Easter. But as it relates to the unemployment, I'm hoping in this next week we'll be able to be seeing more states where we're able to take advantage of that. The other aspect is on the EIDL. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow, but I'll have a video that came out because I did come across something that basically said you can take the EIDL and the PPP, and it was from an official, in essence, bulletin. And I don't know if that's in reaction to what's going on with the EIDL, but it would be if you used it for a separate purpose. So I feel like if you've done the PPP, that's still the order you want to go. Then you would get the EIDL, but the EIDL is key for those that are in the real estate industry. The other aspect here is we're going to talk about the PPP specifically for those in the real estate industry. And so we do have a lighter turnout. Why? Because it's Easter. So I do feel that this will be good. Once we get through the real estate section, if we have enough participation, we'll go live again for things beyond the real estate. So I do really want to focus in on the real estate. Thank you so much. And then I want to give special thanks to my great friend, Wyatt Poindexter, with the Poindexter Group, Oklahoma, or OK Luxury Homes here in Oklahoma. He is a premier realtor. He is through KW, and he is a force here in Oklahoma. He's a great example of how to do business in general and how to do business in the realty world. And he brings a lot of credibility. And so I was honored when he did a plug. So if you're here today because Wyatt had shared with you to come and check us out, I really appreciate that, Wyatt. And Wyatt's a client of mine, and we've been working through some of this as well. And a lot of those that are in the real estate industry, we're dealing with a lot of different issues. Thank you so much. I saw a comment, Happy Easter to you. So I think we just go ahead and let's just start by getting into some of these questions, Amanda. So Amanda, of course, is here with us. A quick update, just very quick. We've had such a great turnout as it relates to this reality show, JJ the CPA here, where basically it's a way for me to extend my help, but then specifically to some businesses. So we've got some from East Coast to West Coast to the center. We've had such a tremendous turnout. I had put a deadline of April 30th, but I'm going to change that deadline to probably sometime this week. So if you're interested in that, I'd love to hear your story and see how it is that I could help. All right, so let's see. So we want to jump into some questions. Where are we in the email so I can follow along, or is that going to be too difficult? Are we down into that? Okay. And then where are you starting? And start with
Debbie, the bottom one.
Okay.
Probably on the next page.
Oh, next page. Well, why don't you just go ahead and go into it? I'm not sure why I don't see him, but oh, there it is. All right. So, Debbie, we appreciate it. What I'm gonna do is, when I answer Debbie's question, I'll shoot her a quick email that just says, "Thanks for," or you can. Thanks for the question, and we answered it at. So remember, at 8 minutes, we answered Debbie's question.
I am an owner, broker, realtor with an S Corp. I filed for unemployment. I only take equity draws on the S Corp. Have agents, I pay 1099. I also collect Social Security full benefits due to age. I applied for EDIL and PPP. I don't know if I can continue unemployment since it's equity draws, or stop drawing on the Corp, collect unemployment and PPP. I handle foreclosures, so we are going to be holding assets for some time in the next year. I want to collect what I can personally and run the business. Any thoughts? I don't have a Schedule C. We did a P&L for 2019 on my QuickBooks account. Have not received any monies on relief, including unemployment.
Debbie, thanks for the great question. And you know what I love, and this is our first one because Debbie got on right away to get us a question, but this really encompasses everything, and we have a number of quandaries related to this, not even just in the real estate, and that's related to the S Corp. So when we're talking about the S Corporation, the beauty of the S Corporation is that the net income, which in essence is what goes into Box 1K1 that then is reported on the individual's tax return, is not subject to self-employment tax. Also, that income doesn't interrupt or affect Social Security benefits. So Debbie's able to properly be able to take advantage of what she worked hard her whole life to get her Social Security benefits. But it's leading to where there are no wages, of course, based on what she said. And so the PPP at the S Corp level, having no wages is not going to qualify for anything, unfortunately. And there was about a 36-hour period of time where banks were convinced that if you paid 1099 individuals, you could include that in your PPP calculation. And basically, SBA came out and clarified what I feel like we knew to be the truth or the reality, which is no, you can't. So, Debbie, I hate to say it, now maybe your bank doesn't know how to properly account for this. Know this, that at the end, we all have to go before a bank examiner at the bank that you got and explain how you came up with your numbers in detail, as well as then how you think it is forgivable. So all that to say, I don't see how you actually I don't see that you're going to get a PPP approved at the S Corp level for what I had just indicated, and then down at the individual level, because your income is not subject to self-employment tax, as I had indicated, which overall is typically a great strategy. I feel like many other S Corp owners, I hate to say it even this way, we're going to be left out in the cold. Because you have no wages, because you have no self-employment income, because you have no Schedule C, because you have no 1099 from your S Corp, which you wouldn't be able to do that anyways, I don't see that you are able to qualify for the PPP even at the individual level. Now, what you can qualify for would be the EIDL as it relates to the fact that you have a business and you would want to do that in the S Corp's name. So does it say that she applied for the EIDL? I know
yes.
Okay. So on the EIDL, one of the things I'll note to you is that there might be a period of time, it sounds as though it's a pure rumor, could be urban legend, but there might be that there were applications that somehow didn't stick in the system, I'll say it that way. So if you get, let's say 3 weeks past and you haven't heard boo from Social Security, from SBA, and I mean like you never heard a thing, like you applied and you never heard from SBA, then you should just apply again. If you got an email from SBA, they got it. I don't know what the delay is in getting the money, but that EIDL money should be coming. They did change, I think incorrectly, the SBA did, on how you calculate the SBA amount of that EIDL, meaning they indicated in a Massachusetts bulletin that it'd be $1,000 per employee. So if you're in a situation where you now are looking at unemployment, I do think you properly qualify for that. The problem is, depending on what state you're in, I don't know how you find where you get those benefits other than if you go to my website, JJ the CPA Help, which is a free website for those that aren't familiar with this. You don't give me an email. There's not a gimmick. It's not free with a catch later. I don't need anything from you. You can just go to the site. It's pure resource, pure information. But careeronestop.org, I've got a link in my website in the unemployment section. But when you click on that, you then are able to pick your state, and then possibly that state will be able to be already acclimated to it. So I know that in Oklahoma, they're not. And so you're not alone, Debbie, that no one has received release. Lewis, happy Easter, yes.
All right, Christopher Wilson. JJ, thanks for all the videos on your YouTube. I have a small boutique real estate rental business that has 2 single-family residential properties, a duplex, and land. One of the properties is a season rental in Florida. The governor of Florida banned all vacation rentals approximately 2 weeks ago. I lost $27,000 the night of the announcement, and now June reservations are being canceled. I'm afraid to ask my property manager what the loss is today. I've been told I can't get relief for this other than the EIDL. Being a small business, I'm confused why this is not included in the PPP. Also, I've been in the real estate appraisal business for 24 years. In my opinion, if this carries into the late summer or fall, we will see a housing crisis in coastal communities of Florida and other states with similar issues. Finally, to make matters worse, I had purchased insurance due to Hurricane Michael. The insurance companies are now balking on the renters' insurance, which is now in the hands of attorney. Would love for you to comment on this in your real estate video today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. You might let Christopher know it's at about, call it 14 minutes in the live episode today. So the issue we have here is that's where we have another gap. We have a gap in what we talked about with Debbie, which is for the S-Corp owner. And I do understand there are some that know how the S-Corp is really supposed to work, which is if you have an S-Corp and you're involved with it, you need to have wages. And so there are some that say, well, it's too bad. You should have been doing it right all these years. Okay, whatever. Point is S-Corp owners are left out in the cold just the same as real estate owners of real estate that is being rented, whether it's seasonal, commercial, and or residential. The one thing to note is that the EIDL is per EIN. So if you have a setup, so I have a number of clients that each time they buy a rental property, okay, whether it's commercial or residential, a new LLC is set up. But we don't want to file a new tax return every time there's a new property bought. So we have one LLC, okay, and that one LLC owns all of these single member LLCs. And these are single member LLCs that are wholly owned by one master LLC, okay? And because of that, we do one tax return, we consolidate. Not that unusual that would be how it would work, but then by having the different LLCs, each one of those LLCs is gonna have its own EIN number. So when you're looking at the legal structure, right? You have a different legal entity with its own tax ID number. The fact that there's one tax return doesn't mean anything in terms of the EIDL. So what I would recommend is that when you go to apply for the EIDL, if you have multiple EINs that in fact own real estate, and you have a danger of rent, which is clearly here, especially in the seasonal business, and I'm so sorry to hear about all that, then put an EIDL request in for that on each one. Now, it is asking for employees, and I think that that's a formality. It can't be zero, so put one. If you have two owners, put two. If you have multiple owners and they're 20% or more, put those owners. I have no basis for telling you why to do that other than applying other things from the law. Now, one of the things that we're going to have here in after 8 weeks of the PPP is in the commercial real estate aspect, rent's not going to be paid. Who even thinks that rent's going to be paid now just because people are getting the PPP money? But think of this, when you talk about now the lost rent for residential or the lost rent for the commercial, how is it that you can make that up? So I know that we're in a position where in the CARES Act, it's kind of put things, frozen on federal backed mortgages as well as federal student loans, where it's kind of like, okay, hey, no interest is being incurred. Basically, it's like instead of going one day, it's going to go this many months and nothing's going to happen, no payments, okay? So that helps. So the reason I say that is get with your mortgage companies, and if you still have mortgages, and indicate to them that you need to file that relief underneath the CARES Act. And most of them, they already know what you're talking about. It's federally backed, but I believe you would have to go and request it. So at least you're getting some relief on payments that would be due. I understand that doesn't help with everything. And then the EIDL at max is $10,000. You don't have to pay it back. It's not that it's forgivable, okay? It is that you just don't have to pay it back, but get it for each EIN number. And when you talk about then an epidemic of the housing market going into a crash, all I would say to those that are in real estate, hold your position, do not sell. It doesn't matter that you're going to be threatened with foreclosure if all of a sudden we're to September and October in the banks, because I think the government's going to put a stay, continue to put a stay on the lenders that they're just going to have to hold their horses. So in my position of just being a CPA and looking at the numbers, plan to hold your position, get the EIDL, and then I do feel like you could qualify for federal unemployment. Now, I understand that doesn't do much when you're talking about multiple real estate entities. It's $600 a week, which for some that is a ton of money. And I'm not saying that it's not, but for someone who also owns a business, that's not going to be as helpful as others. So, hey, real quick, Gene popped on. Thank you so much, Gene. We got Kittens.
Tell them to do thumbs up for the videos. If you guys are here, if you could give a big thumb up, that would be wonderful. And make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. All right.
Okay. And so Janice Rogers and Frederick, I think we have a question from Frederick we're going to answer potentially later on real estate. Nope, she's looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, we do have an email from Frederick. I'm not sure if it is
okay.
about real estate.
All right, and we got Alex and Mike and Kitten and Frederick wants a guided tour first. I love it. We've got Jean, and then we've got Tracy, Brenda, Clay. Welcome back, Easter edition. How you doing, Clay? Jeffos. Clay's really good at what I love is, and I think Kenda too, that when people throw in questions as we're going along that maybe jumped in, they help answer that. So we really do appreciate that. Tim Williams, let's see, we are talking about the real estate, so I am trying to catch some of these as we go along too and get the emails. Let's see, so Maria, thank you so much, and Joshua Flores, Tim Williams, let's see, for federal employment goes live tomorrow. Oh, nice, okay. Tim, thank you so much for that. I will look for that. Let's see, Magresh, I would guess. Maria Lee, MLB, thank you. Happy Easter to you. Gary Y, can you give me a name of a top CPA who can tax prep for someone in Virginia? Where I would look is the Virginia Society of CPAs, because most societies will have a list of CPAs that are wanting to be helpful. All right, we got Kenda on. Gary Y, oh, there you go. I suggest asking on Facebook. Great, that's a great suggestion too, Kenda, because then you can get people's endorsement, so to speak. DC, happy Easter. Shantae Wolf, let's see, yeah, we've got a lot of individuals saying the same thing, that Chase is indicating that you've got to have a business account, which, you know, there's no requirement in the law at all indicating that that is how it works. So I think that Chase and these other big banks are going to get a whooping, and I hope it's a big one. Let's see, also, why are they saying you must have available the outstanding balance of any existing EIDL? So when you're doing the PPP, if you have an EIDL, in a lot of ways they're for the same purpose. The EIDL can be used for other things, but when you're looking at getting the PPP money, they want to know if you got the EIDL, because they're going to reduce down the PPP by the amount that you got the EIDL. So the way that you really want to run this is if you qualify for PPP, get that, then get the EIDL, then get unemployment. But I came across something that is kind of contradictory to that, in the sense of somehow if you can use the EIDL for other purposes than the PPP, and you can prove that, then could you get it concurrently? The only problem is that the application clearly asks for it. The application, in my mind, clearly calls for you to deduct it. So I don't see that you would want to get them concurrently any way, shape, or form. All right, yeah, Lewis, Pyramid 7. Hello, everybody. Let's see. Looking for a way forward. Yes, no doubt, no doubt. Not alone on that. Joy, good day. Let's see, would that affect my license once you apply for unemployment? No, unemployment will not affect it, especially in these times. Nancy, how are you? Happy Resurrection Day, everybody. Thank you, Nancy. Great to see you on, appreciate it. And we've got Joy and Jim, howdy, happy Easter. Nicholas Francis, am I able to apply through multiple lenders? Been getting mixed messages. I'm going to say absolutely not. Now you can submit your info to see how far you get with them, but I would wait to submit the application. I think you could get yourself in a snafu, because what if you go through in two? It's when I say it's a crime, I just mean like it's wrong. You can't get two of them, and now how you gonna put that back? You've basically fallen off the cliff. How are you gonna get back up? All right, Brenda Sullivan, thank you so much for the videos. I'm interested in learning about calculating the FTEs as part of the loan forgiveness. Yeah, we'll be definitely hitting loan forgiveness. Kind of once I feel like most people are getting the PPPs, we get past the sole proprietor getting them and self-employed, then I feel like there'll be obviously much more of a theme of, okay, now that we have the money, how are we doing the loan forgiveness? So I'm expecting that by the end. Brenda Sullivan, do me a favor with your specifics. We're doing real estate, but if you wouldn't mind emailing me, jj@jjthecpahelp.com. That way we can for sure get to your question. And typically with those that are emailing, we're letting you know, hey, we're gonna cover yours on the show. Let's see, Yaz, how about single member LLC with losses and more losses in 2020? Unfortunately for the PPP, you won't be able to qualify, so you're gonna need to do the EIDL, which is at sba.gov. Let's see, Trojan, if the EIN is tied to the SS, is it still considered two separate identification numbers for the application? So on the SS, I'm gonna assume maybe you mean Social Security, but all EINs, FYI, are tied to Social Security. They could in the past be tied to another EIN, but effective sometime last fall, all of them have to be tied to SS, but it won't matter. If you're a sole proprietor related to that business, you do it in your SS. If you also have a business with an EIN, you would do it under your EIN. If your sole proprietor, Schedule C, has an EIN, do it under that EIN that is on your Schedule C. Okay, let's see. Texas Yaya. Let's see, SBA does a credit check, no credit check, or in a lock on credit cards, loan rejected, delayed, or rejected. Yeah, so there's supposed to be no credit. It's in the law, period, the end. If they are relying on maybe your credit activity with them, that's not how it's supposed to work. Plain and simple, if they're accepting money and you're a customer already of that bank, in my opinion, they really don't have a choice but to simply give it to you, as long as you have net income from a Schedule C as a sole proprietor, or 1099s for an independent contractor, or wages at the entity level, or even in your sole proprietorship, wages to employees. Let's see, Nancy, missed yesterday and I'm only halfway listening to the replay. I absolutely love your analogies. Thank you so much, Nancy. I appreciate you watching it back. Shane, what's up? Joy, thumbs up. Oh, all right, so let's see. Tracy, thumbs up. I appreciate that. Bounce Houses of Orange County. Okay, what's our next question? We already had to delete someone's comment, huh?
Yeah.
It's Easter.
Sandy Garza. JJ, first of all, thank you for being selfless and all the valuable information you have provided during these difficult times. I'm a full-time employee and have been laid off, but as a side job, I buy and flip homes. Right now, I don't have any that I'm currently renovating, but do have 2 rental properties. I manage these myself and don't have any employees. It sounds like my only option is EIDL. Can you suggest otherwise?
Yeah, Sandy, so yeah, sorry about the position that you're in terms of being laid off. So yeah, you are absolutely right and on point. The EIDL, if you happen to have each of those rental properties in separate LLCs with separate EINs, I do think that you are able to do an EIDL on each, because each of them is at risk, obviously. And then on the unemployment, on the flipping of houses, if you are flipping houses, that really should be reported on Schedule C, because you become, in essence, a developer. But I don't know if that's how you reported it, because I do know a lot of tax preparers look at it as a quote-unquote capital transaction. But if you have been reporting the flipping of your houses on Schedule C, and you do have net income, you could get the PPP based on that. And so if you have not filed your 2019 tax return, what I am telling you is that you should be reporting on the Schedule C, because any profits that you make are ordinary. And even if you put it on a Schedule D, if you flip it within 12 months, it's ordinary income anyways. So you should be putting your flipping business on Schedule C. So do that for 19, and then you'll be able to go in and get a PPP for the flipping of your business. And then as it relates to the unemployment, neither one of these activities of the rental or if you are flipping houses and you're not showing on Schedule C are gonna allow you to get unemployment. It sounds like though with your job, you would be getting that unemployment, and I'm sure you would guess, one employment one time. So even if you have two different activities that would qualify you each for federal unemployment, you would be stuck with just having unemployment one time. Next.
The next one is,
so thank you for that.
and I emailed them back, told them.
Okay.
The next one is Kitty's, and it's that really long email.
Oh, O'Sullivan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you know what? I should have thought of that ahead of time. We're going to get to Kitty's, and so we're not going to go to it next. So why don't you just give a shout out to, I'm at Lisa Wilson, happy Easter. Thank you for tuning in. We talked with Shane Porter. We said hi, small blacksmith shop. I filed the EIDA grant, think it'll get help, absolutely. If you're on a Schedule C, try that way. And then if we have any realtor questions, maybe can you use the other phone to do a screenshot of them? So let's see, on Kitty's question, can you get to it quicker than me? Let's see.
Kitty's right there.
Okay. All right. Thank you for all the support and for watching, Kitty. I really, really appreciate it. And she wrote just a wonderful email to us, and we really appreciate all the wonderful words. It means everything to us. And basically, with Kitty, just FYI, because I really find it an honor, but Kitty is a CPA who lives in Colorado. She considers herself an inactive CPA, but I don't think that there's ever an inactive CPA. What do they say about, what do they say? There's some saying about computers. Computers never die. They just, I don't know. What am I trying to say? Maybe it's not computers. There's something out there that such and such is. But yeah, if you want to give a quick shout outs, I'm going to refamiliarize myself with Kitty's email again.
Yeah, make sure that you guys are hitting thumbs up. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Again, we are doing real estate questions today. We are going to pop back in if we have time at the end, and we'll get other questions answered. You can email your questions to jj@jjthecpahelp.com, and we will get to them. And whenever we do answer it live, we will be emailing you back, telling you when to go check the live at what time to get your answer if you don't catch us live. But you guys, we cannot thank you enough for your support. Make sure that you are sharing this with all of your friends and everybody in your network and your coworkers, putting it out there on Facebook and stuff, and getting more people over here so then we can help more people. What's up, Shane Porter? Joy is here. Let's see, Tracy, hello, Bounce House, Shane Porter, Lisa. All right, Trojan did have a real estate question.
Yeah, go ahead and read it while I'm also reading this one.
Let me clarify, residential landlords can apply for unemployment. How would that even work?
Yeah, so basically it seems as though on the unemployment it is far like a huge gap that you can jump right in to qualify for it. The problem that we have is there, I guess, is nowhere to actually do it unless your state somehow is connected with the feds already. You can go to this website that I found. It's also on my jjthecpahelp.com, but careeronestop.org. Look up your state. You could go through that. Maybe your state has picked it up. And from the perspective of federal unemployment, I feel like they've made it wide enough that if you do something that brings in income and your income is now lost from that and you don't have another source, then it's going to kick in. I also understand it to be that if you qualify for $1, you qualify for all of it, $600 a week. Basically, though, they've got to get off their hands and get that implemented. So I do look forward. Someone had indicated there's a press release and that we'll have some of that being rolled out starting, I guess, this next week, according to one of the comments that we received.
Fred Lowe, just to let you know, we did receive your email. I do have it in line to be answered, the real estate one. So whenever we get to that, I'll email you back and let you know, but hopefully you're still on whenever we get to it. But Lisa Williams, happy Easter to you. Do you want another question?
Yep.
This is from Tracy. Can a realtor accept both PPP and unemployment? Can a regular landlord, non-realtor apply for EIDL?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I thought I could do two things at once. Could you read it again?
Can a realtor accept both PPP and unemployment, and can a regular landlord, non-realtor, apply for EIDL?
So the short answer is when you're getting PPP, you are getting relief for lost wages as a sole proprietor, and therefore really the way it's supposed to work is you get the PPP. Once that's exhausted, in my opinion, then you're going to get unemployment. Now, because we haven't even seen, other than a few states that are throwing on federal unemployment benefits, it might be that when you go to answer these questions, there's nothing that actually somehow digs that out if you got PPP money. But for me, when you're looking at the purpose of it, that's why I do think it'll ultimately be where you're not able to get both at the same time. And then can a regular landlord, not realtor, apply for the EIDL? Yes. Now I would say that when you go to apply, if you own it under your social, you're going to do it as your social. And if you have another business that you're applying for it, like on a Schedule C, also under your social, you've got one EIDL that you can go and apply for, because in essence, it's also by EIN or social, just as an FYI. So thank you for that. Let's see. Go ahead.
Gary Y, got to be another rock star CP out there like JJ, who will take on a new A1 client. Yes,
absolutely.
There have to be some more out there,
yes,
Gary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pyramid 7, hello. Yaz, hello. Let's see. Joy Dim, hello from my husband Ronald. Thanks, we are watching you, sir. Awesome, so glad that you guys are here.
All right, so on kitties, we've got one that a great layout of facts and circumstances here. So we have a Schedule C individual, and wondering if you take the net from the Schedule C and that's it, or do you take the net from the Schedule C plus retirement and plus the health insurance, and are we including the HSA? So from the standpoint of the net plus the retirement plus the health insurance, I do believe we get to include that, because when you're looking at the payroll cost, that includes it. But what Kitty brings, it's an interesting thought process there, because when you look at the payroll costs that are in the law, it talks about, in wages and, commissions, et cetera, then it says in match, and then it says the health insurance, and then it says the retirement, as well as then state unemployment taxes. And then it does say, and, 1099, actually I didn't say 1099, self-employed, wages, sole proprietor, that language. If it said or, then I would probably conclude that it's a net Schedule C, you're done. But it says and I know that's where the banks got maybe a little overzealous in wanting to then include what was paid to 1099 individuals. But given that it says and, so it's saying here's all the payroll costs, and it then also includes So that's why I think we get net Schedule C plus that. Someone had asked about the HSAs, and if the HSA is paid by the employer, then it possibly can be included because it's a health benefit, including health insurance premiums, that's being paid by the employer. So for me, I don't have any clients that are doing that for whatever reason. But then the interesting question would be is if a self-employed individual were to pay their HSA, that very well may be included. So given that all we know is health benefits, including health insurance premiums, I think you could include the self-employment health insurance, do the HSA, plus the retirement that's on page 1, which is beyond the IRA, plus the net. And then part of this is that I don't even know one person as a sole proprietor, Schedule C, or an independent contractor or self-employed that has even gotten one in or through or accepted. And so what will be interesting is if you include that in the calculation and the banker's reviewing it to determine if that's an amount that you can borrow, I do think you can include it without, in essence, trying to do anything wrong. It would be interesting to see what the bankers say, even though I don't feel like we can always rely on what the bankers say. But when I look at the law, it seems as though all of those things would be included for the self-employed. And then she's got a couple other questions, and what I realized is, Kitty, I think on yours, I will reply to your emails on the other ones that you have, just because you've got some really great ones. And then once I digest those, I think on another live, I'll indicate what we had discussed on that one. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate all the support and tuning in.
Yaz and Randy both have the same question.
Okay.
Is there a video about that you've done about EIDL for single member LLCs?
Yes, if you, so let me go to, I don't want to lose. So if you were to go to just my YouTube channel and you go to the list of videos, whoops. How do I get to my list of videos?
Are you on YouTube?
Yeah, it just keeps kicking me back. Yeah, I did one specific, and it is called. Okay, got it. Okay, now I'm where. It's literally called that, and I did it recently. So let me give you the date. It was this last week, and I did it on April 9th. It says PPP single member LLC, what you can do. So single member LLC, and even in the picture it says single member LLC. And then I do have a playlist for the self-employed, because in essence you're falling in that category really with the Schedule C. Now, do know this, I do address it. You can have a single member LLC that can be various things. So when you take a listen, I think I do cover the various things related to single member LLC, because it can be a C Corp, an S Corp, as well as a Schedule C. A single member LLC, of course, couldn't be a partnership.
Just a shout out with Matt Evans. Thanks, JJ, retired CPA who is a score mentor in DC. I've been watching your stuff a lot lately.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
Brandon Sullivan says thank you for everything, JJ. We can't thank you enough for the information that you have shared.
Thank you so much. Happy Easter to you all.
David Wharton, I know that you're the only one who said it, but that I need a mic because you're hard of hearing me, but I'm literally sitting right beside the phone. I'm not yelling, but I am sitting right beside the phone. So I will take that into consideration and try to talk more towards the phone, but thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, and we have ordered dual mics. We have dual mics, but for whatever reason, they don't work with the iPhone 11. And then yesterday we tried to do the AirPods, but they wouldn't come through. And we were only planning to go live last Monday, and that was it. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we are looking to do the mics. We're just waiting for Amazon to be able to send them.
All right, this one is from Les Goss. JJ, I'm a realtor whose commissions are paid into my C Corp. Can I count the entire commissions I earned or only the salary I was paid from the C Corp? I will be applying for PPP for my C Corp.
All right, well, Les, great question. And from the standpoint of what's includable would just be the wages, unfortunately. So if you woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? Because I think, with the C Corp, there's probably some advantages you're taking advantage of in having that C Corp, but it will just be based on the wages that you're paying. I would say anybody that's also in the same circumstance where they have commissions coming to an S Corp, they're going to be in the same situation as Les. So anybody, even in the real estate industry, if you have your commissions going to an S Corp, it will be only based on the payroll you're paying yourself in the S Corp. Now, if you are a realtor or anybody that's getting 1099s, commissions included, and it's going to your Schedule C, then it's going to be based on your net Schedule C, which is line 31.
Oh, Matt Evans says, FYI, Tiesta T in Illinois was awarded a PPP loan of $230,000 by PNC Bank last Friday.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad that we've got money coming out. We did have Philadelphia Salons indicated that they got some,
Yep.
and there was an auto group.
Modern Auto, was it Modern?
Yeah, maybe out of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Was able to get some, and a number of others. So I'm glad that they're coming out. I heard that EIDL had come out as well. So,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, Trojan. I'm hearing a lot of mixed messages regarding residential landlords with no staff. What are the options? It seems that EIDL and possibly unemployment, but no PPP.
Yeah, you're right on target there because obviously no payroll. And then from the standpoint of the way that income is classified for IRS purposes, it would be that you don't have any self-employment income, so EIDL would be your option. And then again, if you are able to, who just commented? Oh, wait, we'll get to it. There's someone just said they got approved at Chase.
Oh, Gabrielle, Alvarado. I just got an email confirmation from Chase that I was approved for $73,210 deposit in a few days. Yay!
All right, congratulations on that. If you don't mind, could I ask, are you a sole proprietor? Was that based on Schedule C?
Christian.
You'll be the first person that we've come across if that was based on Schedule C. So I'm glad for you, relieving. That's wonderful.
He didn't answer yet, but he
Okay.
did say he's a Christian bookstore.
Oh, well, awesome. I love it. So might be then probably it was based on the wages. Single member LLC, okay, with employees. Is that right? You said
Yep.
with employees, okay. Well, hey, congratulations, wonderful relief. And what a great message to receive here on Easter, just coincidentally.
And Kenda says, I have PPP money funding for my accounting firm and numerous clients tomorrow and Tuesday.
Wonderful, yeah.
Gabriel says thank you for your help.
You bet, Gabriel. And yeah, Kenda being a fellow CPA, I don't know about you, Kenda, but there's going to, at some point this week, there's going to just be a massive sense of relief once our clients and then just all the friends that we have here when they're starting to actually get the PPP money. I think that there might be a gush of emotion coming along with that soon, because even when I read what you said, it makes me feel a little bit of emotion on that. So long story short, glad to see it coming. It seems as that, the stimulus checks, if that's what the IRS is calling that. There seems to be a lot of people that don't want to call it that. But anyways, those should be coming this week. It sounds like unemployment will be coming this week. I'm glad for all that. I sure wish it would have been a couple weeks ago or even this last week, because I am hearing a number of businesses, since they haven't received the relief, they're having to make some decisions. But those that are right at trying to make some decisions, if you're pending on a PPP, hold tight, because I bet by maybe Monday or Tuesday, you might have word on that. So,
Valicia Draca, happy Easter to you too from North Carolina. But
all right.
Just wanted to let you know that you can watch yesterday's live video. It was a special edition for Uber, and Lyft, as well as salon industries, and we talked to a lot of independent trucking companies, which is what it sounds like your question is about. So tune into yesterday's video and you'll get your answer on that.
Yeah, and real quick, I did do a special email, and unauthorized, but in the thumbnail is a little picture of the Uber and Lyft logo. I'm sure Uber and Lyft wouldn't mind because I really praised them in the videos. I'm not getting paid for it. But anyways, I did do 2 videos specific to that that you might check out. And then in the trucking industry, I'll just throw it out real quick. If you're in the trucking industry and the loan on your trucks is in the business name, or if you're sole proprietor, the interest on those loans should count. If you're looking at the other expenses of utilities for a trucking company, unless they have a home base, we wouldn't be able to consider anything else really utilities. And then if it is a Schedule C, it would be based on the net income on that. But anyways, check out those other 2 videos as well. On Tracy, here, I'll read this one because you're doing a couple of technical things there. Am I messing you up?
No, go ahead. A Trojan was just saying, can you please finish what you were saying in regards to my class question?
Oh, did I not finish?
I don't know.
Who said it?
Trojan.
Oh, what's the question?
I'm hearing a lot of mixed messages regarding residential landlords with no staff.
Oh,
What are the options? It seems EDIL and possibly unemployment, but no PPP.
Oh, okay. I thought we answered that.
I thought we answered it.
Well, anyway, so just a quick recap. Yeah, because of how it's taxed, you're not going to get the PPP unless whatever you're doing is you're falling onto a Schedule C, but you would get the EIDL, and that would be based on each EIN if you have multiple LLCs, which you could, and each of them being a single member, even though it may be all reported on your individual return. And then on the unemployment, I don't have a full answer on that other than to say, when I read the qualifications of federal unemployment, in essence, it seems that if your source of income has gone away, you're going to qualify for federal unemployment. Now, it doesn't really help at the business level. And this is, don't get me wrong, I mean, the government can only do so much, right? But at the same time, in terms of the business owner, if you have the business owner and they don't pay themselves a wage, they're going to watch all their employees get money. They're going to watch their landlord get money. What's left for them? Well, that's where the unemployment can kick in. So definitely take a look at the unemployment. And since you're not getting PPP, I feel as though you can get the unemployment in essence pretty much right away, because that EIDL for a real estate entity is not going for payroll costs. It would be going for loan costs or any of the other costs of the real estate. So that's why you could get an EIDL at the same time you're doing unemployment, because the EIDL would not be for wages or payroll costs or self-employment income. So go to SBA.gov and get on there and apply for the EIDL so that you can get the benefit of that, and then keep your eyes and ears ready to hear and see what comes out next week in terms of the federal unemployment.
All right, Tracy in the email?
Yep.
Okay, thank you for your valuable information you provide. Really appreciate you. I am a W-2 employee and I have 4 rental properties in my personal name. One tenant hasn't paid April rent and has been behind for a few months. Another property acquired in December still vacant, but 1 application pending. Do I qualify for any help? I have set up LLCs for each property and was about to transfer titles. Should I hold off until after I get approved for help?
Yeah, great. So if you'll let her know, we're right at 53 minutes. On Tracy, so great question. I don't know if Tracy's on with us, but thank you. And what I like is that this is somebody that, being a W-2 employee, and they're finding ways to do things in addition to that for retirement, supplemental income. So great job on that. It's part of the American way, which is you have a W-2. So hopefully you're not anywhere where your W-2 income is at risk. But what I would say is on the 4 rental properties, because you are already in the process of transferring them into the LLC, do that. And then after they're in the LLCs, which should just be a quick claim deed, then if each LLC has an EIN, then I would apply for the EIDL in each EIN. And then as it relates to the person who hasn't paid you rent, I know that there's kind of a stay, for lack of a better word, for you probably to be able to do anything. And I'm sure you wouldn't do anything, right? But at some point, you know, you've got obligations to meet as well. So the other thing I would indicate here is that, you know, get a hold of the companies if you have any debt on these, the mortgage companies. If they're federally backed, they should already be able to put those immediately on hold for a period of time, I think until the end of September. So that will give you some reprieve in the sense of if you have loan payments that you're having to make, those can be put on hold as well. And so yes, you qualify for the HELP, EIDL, no PPP. The unemployment, I believe, because you have a wage, I don't see that you would qualify for the unemployment, because when you go and apply for unemployment, you would be indicating that you have a job. And so I understand that you have a separate activity, but I think the EIDL is the way to go. And then I bet if you're still working, you're not gonna be in a position where you don't have a job temporarily, but of course the unemployment. So Tracy from New Jersey, thank you so much. Good luck with all to come. And it sounds like whoever's helping you, it really is on the ball, because great job in your structure, get them into the LLC. And then it sounds a little cumbersome, but what I would recommend is just as you move forward for any other purposes, each time you add a property, set up an LLC. You can own it wholly. If you set up a company, it can wholly own it. It shouldn't complicate anything, but you're limited liability, number one. Number two, you're separating it out. And then there's just other reasons that as things come about like this, having things segregated out makes a big difference.
Right, this is another Tracy, and Tracy T. Regarding PPP for a realtor, after the 8 weeks, would paying myself be forgivable as it's my payroll to myself, or do you recommend other ways for it to be forgivable for a realtor?
Okay, does it say Schedule C? Tracy, right?
Yes, Tracy T.
Tracy T, this is from our live.
Yeah, but she also emailed another question too, but it
Okay.
didn't say in that one either.
Tracy, do you mind just throwing, okay, Schedule C, boom, thank you so much. I would, it sounds like you're already on the same page to get the PPP on the net, which is line 31. If you haven't applied, do make sure you're picking up on Schedule 1, whatever you've reported for health insurance and the retirement. And I believe you also now should include whatever you're putting into the HSA as a Schedule C. Okay, so Tracy T already applied. All right, so hopefully you will get approved for however you put the money in, which is great. In my opinion, when you get the PPP money, go to EIDL next. Once that is used up, then you'd go to the unemployment. But as it relates to what was the other part of, I think I answered it.
Regarding PPP for a realtor, after 8 weeks, would paying myself
Oh,
be
yeah.
forgivable?
So yeah, thank you for that, because we're just still up in the air on this, and it's ridiculous. And I went back through the law, and of anything related to forgiveness, it doesn't talk anything that would address self-employed individuals. So from the perspective of this, I'm just kind of predicting that, yeah, whatever a self-employed individual qualifies for, how is it simply not forgiven? Because they are using it for themselves. So in terms of how do you substantiate that, for now, I would say if you have a separate bank account, you're writing checks, then you might be in a situation where writing a check out to yourself is going to count. I've asked the bank that I'm doing a lot of work with if they have any kind of indication of what needs to get done on that. They said until further guidance, yeah, just write a check to yourself. Up to 75% of it has to be used for quote unquote payroll. Up to 25% can be used for the other expenses, but you can use more than 75% as it relates to this forgiveness. So stay tuned for that. I definitely will be getting word out, and I bet you'll hear for lack of a better word, press releases once we know a little bit more about that.
Tracy asked another question.
Okay.
Thanks for all your help so far. Can I
bet.
collect unemployment and PPP at the same time? I applied to both, but no update
Yeah.
found either at this time.
Gotcha. So my understanding is that with PPP, in essence, that is paycheck protection, which is in essence your net income being protected. So my understanding is you would do the PPP once that money's run out. And I don't know that, I guess for sole proprietor, it might be after 8 weeks until we get any further guidance, and then you get the federal unemployment. If you've applied for federal unemployment and it didn't have any questions about the PPP, then I'm sure you answered everything correctly. You might have applied in a state potentially where we already have they already have the federal unemployment in place, so maybe that's how you were able to get that applied for, but I'll be curious to see if it gets approved. But at the end of the day, when I indicate here's how I understand it to be, the federal unemployment has provided hardly anything, and it's not even available, which is very disappointing. So kind of a flimsy answer there, because we just don't have enough information, but based on what I know, that's the order I would go.
All right, and the final question from Tracy, it was 1 live and 2 emails. If you are a 2-family landlord, none business, can you apply for an EIDL? My retired father relies on the rental income to pay the property mortgage. Is it eligible for assistance?
The short answer is yes, and my understanding, though, which I would also do, is contact the mortgage companies to put some reprieve on that, because I think it would be almost automatic that you would be able to get a reprieve from any payments having to be due, so to speak. And then on the EIDL, if it's your father that's relying on it, for lack of a better word, maybe there is no loan on it, but you can do the EIDL, do it in his social, and I think that would be fine. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to, and I'm not saying that you are, and I don't think you've indicated that you're trying to, but I think really it would just be one of you that would do it, and so probably it'd just be your father based on your question. So we got Frederick Lowe next.
Fred Lowe, and that's you.
Yeah. So let me read his real quick. If you want to give a shout out, or if there's anybody that's asking a question.
Randy Freed, if you sent your email today and it was regarding real estate, we will answer it. I don't know if, I'm looking here, let's see. And that it's not regarding real estate, so we won't have that flag to answer today. But yes, I did receive your email, and we will get that answered. And make sure that you guys are hitting subscribe. We're so glad that you're here spending part of your Easter with us. Make sure that you're hitting subscribe. Make sure that you're giving thumbs up. Make sure that you are sharing the video with other people.
All right, Frederick, thank you so much for this. And Frederick, it's a good-looking man. He's a CFP, which is, I think in some ways it's harder to become a CFP than it is to become a CPA. You've got to do so much more in addition to college. So this is someone that really not only is smart, all right, but definitely is providing, I'm sure, great services for the client. So the question that we have here, and thank you for your wonderful compliments and your patience in terms of us being able to get to the email, and I'm glad that we're able to tackle it today. So the question here is a great one. So has a client that has 2 sole proprietorships on the Schedule C. Realtor, which has a net loss, and then a caregiving business, which has a net profit. And so the question is, do you combine those 2? And then has self-employed health insurance totaling 10 grand. Would they be eligible for the PPP, and would it be based on the net? Here's how I would look at it, okay? In my opinion, is that you have 2 separate businesses and you're applying for the business that has the net income. I've not come across anything that indicates that you would have to net losses against a separate sole proprietorship on that tax return. So in my opinion, if you would have both of them that had profit, the SBA has indicated that you would combine the two to just do one application for the PPP. So what we have to remember is that this is here to help. It's not a normal circumstance. And I know that, I travel the country talking to CPAs from, Seattle to California to New York to Colorado to Atlanta, you name it. And we've been to over 50 cities over the last 18 months talking to thousands of CPAs on behalf of this spectacular and wonderful company called Surgent. And here's why I just say all that is I'm a CPA, obviously. I deal with a lot of CPAs. I talk to a lot of CPAs. And for whatever reason, as a CPA personality maybe, we seem to go with the direction of nuh-uh. And I don't go with that direction. I go with the direction of let's find a way that we can and let's prove that we can't versus we can't, right? Because when people say, oh, you can't do that, well, then you're working, I almost feel like you're working in the wrong direction. You're trying to find the way that you say you can't, and it's harder to get everybody on the same page to show that, well, here's what you can. So I look at, when I'm approaching anything with taxes, it's like, we're innocent until proven guilty, which just means that we can do it until we find that we can't, okay? And even when we find something that says you can't do it, we have to figure out, well, why is it saying that? All I'm saying for you, Frederick, is that I don't see anywhere at all, period, the end, that those things would need to be combined, period. Now, I know that those things are combined to arrive at self-employment income, and I know that I've talked about Schedule SE. Mostly where I think a Schedule SE comes into play is for those that get a K-1 from a partnership. It would show the banks that this most likely would be the most proper level for that person to get a PPP because they're the ones that's paying the self-employment tax. They're the ones that have put themselves in a similar position. But even in that, there is nothing that indicates that your PPP is based on what your Schedule SE shows. There's nothing that says that you need to combine the two. So there might be an opinion out there that you can't combine the two, then show us where. Like, be specific. And it can't be, well, but it says this over here in the law on this for this and this. Well, we're not dealing with tax law for starters, okay? This is basically the law that's allowing you based on tax information. So what I would say is I would, for the entity that has the net profit of $6,500, yeah, and I don't know if you wrote it opposite, but anyways, the one that has the profit is the one that you would use, and then you would add on that employment health insurance premium. If they had any retirement, you would add that on. It seems as though you can add on the HSA as well. I don't see anywhere that you can't, and it does say health benefits, including health insurance premiums. So there's no way it would say health benefits, including health insurance premiums, if they meant only health insurance premiums. So that's why I think the HSA for self-employed would be used. So great question on that. I appreciate that. And in my opinion, I think that you would take that health insurance of the 10 grand plus the net income that at least how I'm reading it here on the caregiver of 6,500, divide that by 12 times 2.5, and then that would be the amount. And that's gonna go quick. That's gonna go quick. And so I would almost like, as soon as you get the money, as soon as that's exhausted, go and get EIDL. And then here's the thing, I think you can get EIDL on both of those companies, on the realtor and the caregiving, if they had separate ID numbers. If both things are under one social security number, then I think you can only get one EIDL. I also think that the way that it's designed is that you wouldn't have, I know nowadays if I say husband and you say wife, we could have two husbands, we have two wives, so just go with me in the sense of easiness for anybody that's watching. But anyways, if you had, or one spouse that applies for EIDL and another spouse apply for a DIL in their social security numbers, I'm pretty sure what I've read is you would have to do one. But if on your Schedule Cs, it had a tax ID number, which you would know, then you are able to, I feel like you can get an EIDL on each one because it is based on the EIN. And then, when that's all exhausted, I feel like on either one, it would allow for federal unemployment, probably not state unemployment. But if this is one person, one spouse, then they're only going to get, of course, the $600 a week. But for grins, let's say that one spouse is the realtor business, the other spouse is the caregiving business. I think they each would qualify for the federal unemployment. So let me do a recap. You have two Schedule Cs. One's a loss, one's profit. I think you can base the PPP on the income of this. There's nothing saying that you would have to combine it with the loss. Your PPP would be that net income plus your health insurance plus your retirement divided by 12 times 2.5. Once that exhausted, if you have two Schedule Cs, okay, and there's two EINs, each of them could get an EIDL. If you have two Schedule Cs, even if it's one spouse and one spouse, I think you're going to be able to get one EIDL. And then once that's done, if this is a spouse and this is a spouse, two separate Schedule Cs, they'd each be able to get the federal unemployment. If both businesses is one spouse, then only one federal unemployment. And I think that's the way that you would want to work through the relief here, PPP, EIDL, and then the federal unemployment. So thank you so much for that.
Fred says thank you. Great. He said great news. Thank you.
You bet.
This is for M. Shaw, real estate broker question. Hello, JJ. Before I go into my question, I would like to thank you for giving, I would say donating your time and knowledge to help as many people as possible in understanding and finding a way from the CARES Act. My question is as follows. My wife and I filed our taxes jointly. Being a commercial real estate broker, I've received a 1099 and my wife as a sole proprietor gets a K1. What, according to you, would be appropriate, EIDL or PPP? Due to filing jointly, can we apply as individuals? How do we go about making use of both? Also, we have a rental property and the renters have decided not to pay. Can those be added?
Let's see. You got to read the PS.
P.S. I didn't want to overwhelm you. P.S. Your brilliant idea of a reality show has given our team an idea on how we can help and advise for free a few restaurant owners in any location on managing the crisis and coming out of it. We specialize in restaurant and hotel consulting. Please let me know if you are aware of anyone that needs our advice.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and you know the aspect of doing the reality show is a way to kind of take this live aspect and take it on the road, so to speak, and then try and implement it all the way 360 degrees around a business that might be in a position where they never saw this coming, and so maybe they're in a tailspin. So what can we do? What can a CPA bring to the table? So, all right. So what I love here is that this is just real live, nuts and bolts of a true tax return. We've got married filing jointly. We've got multiple, we have two businesses for each. And then we're also dealing with rental property. So let's break it all down. Let's start with the rental property. If you are finding that your renter's not going to pay you, unfortunately, whether you do a loss or whether you make less income or you lose gross income, on all the relief with the EIDL and the PPP, that's a requirement in the sense of you're in economic injury or jeopardy to be able to pay for your costs. So it's a qualifier, right? But there's not a mechanism where a dollar amount is then added to whatever it is that you're applying for. So for those in the real estate industry that you own and rent out real estate, whether it's commercial or residential, you would get the EIDL and it would be based on each EIN. So talked about it, if you have each property in a separate LLC, even if it's disregarded for tax purposes, you could file for each EIN. Now, let's move to The commercial real estate receive a 1099. So if, I'm assuming when you indicated that, you're reporting on a Schedule C. And so if you're reporting on a Schedule C, then you would take the net income, which is line 31. Make sure you add to it Schedule 1, line 15 and 16. And I'm going to pull up Schedule 1, 20.
Fighting trolls, sorry guys.
Hey, I'm still working. But if you look at your Schedule C, that's what you would use for you. The 1099 does help back up the fact that you are, quote unquote, self-employed sole proprietor. I doubt this is the case because as a realtor, you obviously have a lot of mileage and expenses and the things that you're putting, homes together, expenses that may come into play there. So I'm sure you're deducting your expenses. We've had questions of, why does an independent contractor get to just use their 1099s where a sole proprietor is using, the net on the Schedule C? Well, part of that is because if you have an independent contractor and they're not taking any expenses, then by default, it's just based on their gross. It's not that they are avoiding having to take into account their deductions. Jennifer Harris, CPA, thank you. And then the only reason I was bringing up Schedule 1 for you as the realtor, it would be also looking at, I believe, line 12 as well, which is the health insurance. So for that, you would do line 12, line 15, line 16 to be able to pull into that. Now on the K1, if it's a K1 from an S Corp, and you would know that by looking at the K1 in the top left, it's going to say 1120S K1. That's not going to apply for anything except up at the S Corp level. If there's any wages paid even to your spouse, then that's where that would be taken. If it's a K1 from a partnership, that's not an automatic. If it's a K1 from a partnership, top left, it'll say Form 1065. And then you would look at boxes 4A and box 14, which both of those items are going to be subject to the self-employment tax. So look at the individual return, look and see if you have a Schedule SE, because if you have a Schedule SE, then you have self-employment income. And this is why self-employment income is such a key factor, is that any of that income that's subject to self-employment tax is subject to Social Security and Medicare. It's a 15.3% tax. Because of those circumstances, quote unquote, self-employed, there's no one paying in the match of the Social Security and Medicare. So when somebody's an employee, even if they own their own company and they're an employee of it, when you have wages, 7.65% is withheld for Social Security and Medicare. And then the business matches that 7.65%. And so what's sent into the government is 15.3%. That's on payroll. So now when you look at a self-employed individual and their net income is subject to 15.3%, these two circumstances are in the same position for PPP because here are wages, here's self-employment income. So I'd look at that Schedule SE and C. I don't believe that would be where you would apply at the partnership level unless the partnership has employees. And I would think that the partnership would file for the employees and you individually would file based on the SE. And then to look at this, I think what the IRS would want is if you're doing an application on your social, then it would include both of these amounts, both of the nets, or what's on the Schedule K and your net income, plus 12, 15, and 16 lines from Schedule 1, divided by 12 for your monthly cost, times 2.5. I would disclose to the bank, hey, this is encompassing two businesses. In the event that the bank says, well, hey, I think we need to do two applications. I don't believe that would be the case, but the banks are holding the cards here. So at the end of the day, both should qualify if the Schedule K is subject to the self-employment tax. So Shaw, thank you for that, Mr. Shaw, from Florida.
David Pitzer, question regarding real estate broker. It is my understanding that can include the commission income you paid your agents in your payroll cost.
Oh, yeah, there was about a 36-hour window that banks got word out that it would be able to include, but then the SBA came out on Monday the 6th and then also Wednesday the 8th in their guidelines as well as their frequently asked questions and made it clear that you cannot include 1099s in your calculation of what your payroll costs, and the reasoning is, as it states even in the SBA FAQs as well as the guidelines, is that those that receive the 1099s are able to go and apply for the PPP. So unfortunately, it's massively clear that you will not be able to include what you pay individuals or businesses on 1099 or not. The only thing you can include is the wages and or if you have both circumstances, the net income from Schedule C. So thanks for that question.
And this question was emailed from Kathy with JJKA Buy Houses. Thank you in advance for your valuable advice. I created an LLC in January 2019 and filed taxes as an S Corp 11/20s. I made a wholesale deal of $6,000 income and had $14,000 expenses. I still don't have payroll. Wonder if my company qualifies for PPP and EDL loans respectively. If yes, which one should I apply for? What documentation should I take with me to the bank to apply for PPP? Is there other benefits in the CARES Act that my company could benefit from? On the other hand, do I, as a self-employee, I did some accounting works in 2019 and reported as self-employed, get benefits from the unemployment benefits?
All right, well, thank you for that, Kathy. I appreciate the question. We're at 81 minutes. If you wanted to send a quick email back in the event that they weren't able to get on for Easter. Thank you everybody for joining us. If you don't mind, if you're throwing on a question, all we ask is that you would just subscribe by the time you leave, and then as you, and if you don't mind giving us a thumbs up too. So as it relates to this on the S Corp, first of all, you have a loss, and so if you were a sole proprietor, that won't count because you have a loss and it's based on the net income. But with you being an S Corp, the net income is not self-employment income, so the net income wouldn't count, but you have a loss there. But even if you had net income, it still wouldn't count. And then you're obviously not, you know, with starting out, you're just like everybody else is starting out, not enough coming through to justify paying yourself any wages. So there's not going to be anything at the S Corp level, unfortunately, because you don't have any wages at the S Corp level. And then down at the individual level, the income from the S Corp not being subject to self-employment tax will not be included in the PPP. But then the work that you did as self-employed, whatever that net income is, that would qualify for PPP. What I would do is have the S Corp apply for the EIDL, and I think you would be able to easily qualify for that. And then I would apply, you should apply for unemployment benefits as well. So we're doing, you know, we have over 200 people for Easter. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is really
thanks
good.
for tuning in.
And thanks again, Rusty. We are keeping after people to give thumbs up, because the more thumbs up we'll get, the more subscribers that we will get, because the people will be seeing that we are live today. So please, there is 205 people watching and only 63 thumbs up. So give us a thumbs up real quick. Our next question is from Gabriel. Hello, JJ. Thank you for your help with all these questions on your YouTube videos. Me and my brother own a couple of rental properties in Texas and have filed Schedule E for 2019. Line 26 has a loss. Can both me and my brother apply for an EIDL?
All right, so you have a couple of rental properties. Schedule E, you're on point that, you know, it's not going to, Gene has a question in there, unless he's talking to somebody else, so let's make sure you didn't see Gene's.
Yeah, it was just not about real estate.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll answer Gene's. He's on all the time, he or she. But anyways, the The short answer is that I believe if you have two, okay, if you have two rental properties, then I would think, your brother apply for an EIDL for the one rental property, you apply for one on the other rental property. If you just had one rental property, then one of you would just be able to apply. And there's not a way to split it, and there's not a way to say, hey, can I get half? But because you have a couple of them, that's how I would go. It seems proper. Each rental property is its own activity. It's its own business, so to speak. So that's why I think each one would qualify. But here's the deal. When you say that you and your brother are filing on the Schedule E, if it's just on one of you's, then the person that's reporting the Schedule E, it should be where it's applied for. The one thing I'll just note to you as you move forward, the way that the IRS wants you to actually report that is as a partnership on a partnership return, even if it's a general partnership, which just means you don't even have to you don't have to have an LLC. You can get a tax ID number, for quote unquote banking reasons. But it seems logical that you would just take, your activity, split it in half, report it on each. When I first started practicing 27 years ago, that's how we did it. Then the IRS came out a bit ago and indicated that that needs to get reported on a Schedule E, on a partnership return, and then there would be K-1s that would flow down. But based on what you're saying, it is what it is, Frank, and, oh, no, I guess it's Frank. It says Gabrielle.
No, it's it does say Gabrielle.
It says Gabrielle, but it says
then
thanks,
it says
Frank.
Frank.
Yeah. Anyway, so Frank, go with what I had indicated, but maybe for 2020, you might look at doing the partnership, and, visit with whoever's helping you with that on how to go about that.
The question from Jean McIntyre was, I'm just waiting on until we all get clarification on single member LLC and what documents are needed to show you pay yourself.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely the same thing that we're looking at, on the single member LLC, you're in a situation where obviously it could be a C Corp, an S Corp, or a Schedule C. So if it's a Schedule C, of course it's a Schedule C, line 31. If it's a single member LLC, but it's an S Corp, because then just one person's owning the S Corp, of course, it would only be based on the wages. Same thing with the C Corp. But obviously the way that Gene's asking the question, we know that we're dealing with the Schedule C there, because how do we substantiate what we paid ourselves? So stay tuned on that.
All right, our last email is from Elliot Robinson, and it's a long one, so we'll have to let JJ read that. I was just Texas Yaya, Amanda and JJ, thank you too, should explain to the viewers how to like and subscribe. So it's really easy if you guys don't know how to like or subscribe. If you are watching this live, sometimes you do have to exit out of the live video, and then you can see the thumbs up, and there will be a little subscribe that is directly underneath the video, and you just click that, and then you are subscribed.
And then you can come back to the video.
And then you can come back to
or
the
do
video.
it when you leave.
Yeah, but then you guys, once you are subscribed to the channel, you will get notifications in YouTube as well as email anytime that JJ goes live. So that's another important reason. He's given a lot of valuable information, and sometimes times may just fluctuate a little bit. So if you're subscribed, then you'll know whenever he's live.
Okay, so on Elliot, we've got some great information here. Long story short, if we have a sole proprietor, they receive commissions and 1099, and then they have a second sole proprietor, so a separate Schedule C. If both of those are showing net income, then you would do one PPP app. You would combine that, the net income, include line 12, 15, and 16 from Schedule 1. And let's see, Lisa Wilson. is asking if we received her email. I'm not sure if it's on real estate.
Lisa Wilson, we received your husband's email and I put it in chat, but I've also emailed him back. We answered it at 14 minutes in the live, so you'll need to go back to the 14-minute mark to get that answer.
So on Elliot's question, which is a great one, you have two Schedule Cs, so you would file one PPP and it would be based on the net of both. And then, let's see. Then, since I'm a sole proprietor, self-employed, and independent contractor, which box should I check? If you're filing Schedule Cs, go with sole proprietor. And let's see. Since I'm using a trade name for the real estate, I only show Robinson Management Service DBA. Correct. It does ask for the DBA, so go ahead and list that. I think it's probably somewhat of a formality. And then if you are a sole proprietor, I think you're applying for this under your name, and then you would show the DBA. And then, let's see. So we got Schedule C as a home address or my office address. So use whatever address is on the Schedule C. If you have two Schedule Cs and they have different addresses, I don't know that it totally matters, but I would probably then go with the one that you use the most, the one that's most active. If they're both active, then dealer's choice on that. It might be better to use the one that's not your home. Just kind of establishes a different set of criteria if anybody were to totally investigate this, but I don't know why they would. And then let's see, use your name, use your agent email address, and then let's see.
I see it now, Lisa, and we will answer the question next.
Let's see, was it a different Lisa?
It's a different Wilson.
Oh, a different Wilson, okay. All right, so, and then also in Elliot's, I need clarification on some of the certifications. Certification 1, for my real estate business, I'm the only one. I have no employees or independent contractors. So yeah, you would list one employee. For most full-time real estate agents, I would assume the loan request is necessary to support ongoing operations of the applicant, yes. And then the third one, does the use of the funds retain me as a sole proprietor count? Yes. And then does documentation of employment costs apply to sole proprietorship? I want to say yes, but I don't know what that is, but in essence, you'll have it. And then will sole proprietors get any loan forgiveness? Yes, because it's all designed for loan forgiveness. That'll be the interesting question to try and determine is how do we just substantiate it? It may just be simply that it's just forgiven. Let's see. And then average monthly payroll instructions with respect to the purpose of the loan. Payroll costs consist of independent contractor, sole proprietor. It lists all the things from the law for purposes of calculating the average payroll, excluding 100,000, illustration purposes. So I think I'm following what you're saying here, but you would, maximum would be 100 for you for that application under the Social Security, plus the health insurance and also the employee benefit. So I think I've answered everything. If
we got this one from...
No. I'm saying in this email,
sorry.
okay, from Elliot. Elliot, if you have any questions back on that, you can just email me back. I think I hit on everything. So thanks for that, Elliot, and good luck with getting that through. It sounds like with as much detail as you're paying attention to and the documents that you have, hopefully you'll have no issue getting that through on your sole proprietor. But don't overcomplicate it, in my opinion, with the bank. Just, here's my app, here's my 2 Schedule Cs, here's my 1099s, done. Because you have a lot of questions there, I know you're trying to do it right, but all you're gonna do is cause the banker to then doubt everything on your application. And not at all am I saying, so you're here to put the wool over their eyes, but hand it in, give the Schedule Cs, you put the information down, here it is. They'll come back to you whatever questions they have. They have to go through and answer a lot of details. Leave it up to the bank to come back and try and clarify. If you try and give, in my opinion, I own this under that, and I got this DBA, and I have the two addresses, all the questions that you have here, which I'm glad that you're wanting to resolve them. But then just when you hand it in, be confident about it in the sense of, there you go. Because what you're going to do is keep putting yourself at the back of the line if you are providing, I don't want to say too much information, but if you're providing too many explanations to the bank on each of these line items, how you did this and how you applied for this and how you felt like you should include this address or whatever. Not saying that you will, I'm just saying, hey, you're doing a great job of resolving everything you can. You're going to fill it out the best that you know, hand it in, and then see what they come back with on that. So thanks again, Elliot.
All right, Lisa Wilson, and this is from her husband, John. JJ, let me tell you how much my wife and I appreciate what you were doing.
Bet.
You have been a light in a dark time. We pray that God will bless you over and above.
Thank you.
We work for Douglas Elliman as a 1099 independent contractors in Boca Raton, Florida. We file with a Schedule C. I don't have a business account, so no bank will let us apply. I bank with BOA and said I should open an online business account. The first question is what type of business? Sole proprietor, general partnership, limited partnership, corp, PA, LLC, and unincorporated association. I am none of those, and I don't file as a sole proprietor. Which one, if any, can I choose? I started to call state banks, and they said the same thing. One banker said it's not them with the have to have a business account, but the U.S. government is telling them that. I would appreciate your help, and if I'm ever in Oklahoma, I will look you up and buy you a steak dinner. God bless you and your family, and thank you again.
All right. Well, thank you to the Wilsons. I really appreciate that. Thanks for the question and making sure that we got to it. And with the circumstances that we're in, I'm hoping that you'll get the relief and quickly. So it sounds as though the question is more stemming around the bank account.
Yeah.
Let me just clarify they say they're both realtors, right?
It says.
Or just. Are they both realtors?
It didn't say.
Okay, so if she's saying she's asking for her husband, let's just assume it's just the husband. So let me just go this direction. You are a sole proprietor if you file a Schedule C, and that's evidenced by at the top of the Schedule C, it says sole proprietor. And so actually last Wednesday, all of a sudden it seemed like the banks were realizing that, if you're a sole proprietor, you could have started applying on the 3rd. So if you're filing a Schedule C, you are a sole proprietor. When you go to the IRS to get a tax ID number online, you can just get it. There's an option that says for banking purposes. So go ahead and get a tax ID number. If it asks for a DBA, if you're using a DBA, that'd be great. If you're not, I don't know that that's a big deal. Maybe just come up with a DBA to make it simpler. A DBA just means you just go, hey, I'm gonna do business as, and it doesn't even mean that it's on your card or on your billboard or anything to that effect. A DBA, there's lots of my clients and they have multiple DBAs. They have DBAs that they're not even technically using. So even if it's just, Wilson Realtors, right? Doing business as, or even if it's just the first and the last name Realtors, pick a DBA, just make it simpler, okay? And for the banks that are trying to figure out how do we do a business account, they're gonna want a business name because they've got to, what's the individual name, what's the business name? Come up with a business name. All that being said, that's when you are doing, if you go to irs.gov and let's see, we have the email.
Yep,
Okay.
and they are both realtors. She's on watching live right now.
Okay. Do you each file a Schedule? I'm assuming you each file a Schedule C. Is that true? And so I'm going to go to irs.gov, and I'm just going to double check the word search I'm going to tell you, because if you go to irs.gov and then you search online SS4, what will come up is the first option, online SS4. It is apply for an EIN online. Only do this at the IRS. Only do this at the IRS. If you Google this, you will find a bunch of companies that are gonna charge you a bunch of money to do this. You do it at irs.gov only. You apply for the EIN, okay? And then you're gonna see where it says apply online now. Once you do apply online now, well, shoot, it says it's unavailable. They apologize for the inconvenience. Well, shoot, there must be a lot of people trying to do that. Well, go with where I said, and then just keep trying back to get an EIN. Now, if the bank will let you open a business account under the Social Security number, then I would get after that. If they're indicating that there has to be a business account, I'm assuming that qualification surely will change soon because sole proprietors don't have business accounts. So yes, go ahead and get an online one. If you each are filing a Schedule C, the way I understand it is that you would do one PPP application, and you would combine your nets. I would suggest that whoever's the primary on the tax return, that would be what is indicated as, whose social it's under. When it lists the owners in that section, list both of them. And your Schedule Cs will be your backup, and then get a bank account, a business bank account open as soon as you possibly can. And if when you go to open it, it requires a tax ID number and EIN. Going through a service is not going to work. Just FYI, if you're feeling desperate, anybody for getting an EIN, you can go through like a legal Zoom and they'll get the EIN. But if you can't get the EIN, they can't get the EIN. And there's no reason to let a third party get your EIN when you can go to irs.gov and get it in 5 minutes. You're going to do it as a sole proprietor. That's what you'll select. And you'll do it for banking purposes only. Pick a DBA. You don't have any payroll. If you're unsure of a question, there's no reason to answer it yes, because they have questions in there that I don't know why they do, that has all kinds of questions to cover different kind of industries. So hopefully, okay, can you help me with it?
You said, okay, so only one DBA or one for each of us?
Yeah, I think that if you're going to do one, if this is all in one PPP, then I would do one DBA, one business account. I understand that you both have your own businesses, right? But this is all just for the purposes of the PPP. So it's just going to confuse them, in my opinion, if you had two accounts or two DBAs. So just do the one DBA. And unfortunately, the sole proprietor part of this and the self-employment part of this, I'm really glad that it includes those. I have a side sole proprietorship. My insurance practice is through a sole proprietorship on Schedule C as a statutory employee. I also, when I go and do speaking engagements, that's through sole proprietorship, i.e. Schedule C. All to say, if I were to go apply for a PPP, I would be joining both businesses, and then when it would say, what's the DBA, I'm just gonna pick one, because I think that that's just a pure formality. I don't know that it matters in any way, shape, or form. But then here's the thing, if the bank needs more clarification, when you're handing in two Schedule Cs, if they come back and say, well, you each need to apply, then we're learning as we go on some of this. I'm basing exactly what I'm telling you based on how it seems to be working here in Oklahoma, even though I don't have one client that's gone through. I do have a bank that successfully has been able to submit and get approval from the SBA on a sole proprietorship. But really all the things that they're being provided, the Schedule C, et cetera, doesn't really matter. It's based on the information that's being entered in, which is just on the application. So hopefully that helps, and best of luck to you all. And I really appreciate the support, and hopefully we answered everything there. If you have any follow-up on that, feel free to email us. I don't have to necessarily wait until I go live. And I think on some of the emails that we've received, I may just choose to just answer the email so that you get the answer, because I know as you're going into the coming week, you're trying to maybe get some answers on some things. So if I answer you in the email, then that just means that I won't be taking it live, but it's just a way to get you your answer. You bet, Lisa, and good luck. And I really, if you wouldn't mind, let me know how it turned out in terms of, did it work? Did having the ID number, were you required to just have one app? It would be good to know that, so that I can share that information as we move forward, because it's going to really be, I think, an interesting week for those that are self-employed, sole proprietor, independent contractors, being able to get the relief that they deserve on this, and that's just from, I think, the lack of direction.
All right, and we received a couple more emails.
Oh, okay, great.
This is from Andy in Michigan. My wife is a full-time real estate agent. In 2019, net income of $24,000, no employees, so PPP would be about $5,000. Unemployment in Michigan will be about 900 per week, 300 plus 600 fed, so might be more than PPP on weekly basis. Should we do the PPP, then go for unemployment? How soon after receiving PPP can we apply for unemployment? Thanks again.
Yeah, you bet. If in your state you're able to already apply and get federal unemployment, I think it's kind of 6 1/2, quite frankly, bless you, on that dollar amount. So I wouldn't, this isn't a one-size-fits-all recommendation, but obviously you would be able to make up for the unemployment that quickly. And, you're not able to get these concurrently. Maybe you can, but it's really meant to be you get one and then you get another. With the amount that you're getting, I feel like you would probably, based on what I'm hoping you already are saying, is that you're able to potentially get these in the state you're in, you'd already be able to get that unemployment benefit. So if you can get that, I would just get that, because in some ways, if you're following, and I think you are, is if you can't get them at the same time and it's concurrent, then you have a situation where you just need you need the money. So if you're going through PPP and there's going to be this delay in getting it, it might feel like a little bit more up front, but by the time you get it, plus a couple of weeks, if you've already gotten the same from the unemployment, I think you would want to go that route. The other thing is, what I don't know is, when you're talking about self-employed, are you in a position where now you would have to wait 8 weeks before you could get unemployment? Because remember, it's an 8-week period. Now it's easier, if you're doing payroll, you can more substantially figure out when the payrolls run out. If you're self-employed, it seems like if you're getting that small of an amount, and I just mean that's the number, I think you would just want to go with the unemployment. That'd be kind of my gut on it. I think you'll get it quicker. You'll get more technically, but you would get, I think, just overall, you're going to get the same amount. The risk you're avoiding is not getting the PPP to then not be in a position where somehow we learn that you would have to wait 8 weeks before getting the unemployment. So I would go that route.
Got to give a big shout out to the little ones behind the curtains in the comments today, because you have Kenda on, who's a CPA, you have Jennifer Harris, who is a CPA, and you have Julio on, who's a CPA, that are answering questions in the comments that are not related to real estate and people are asking. So thank you guys for helping JJ get to all the people, so that way he can answer all these real estate questions.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. I love it.
All right, so this is from Rom DeCall. Hello JJ, today I would like to know a few things from you. I've still not found an answer, therefore I'm confused how to file. Number 1, I have a beauty salon. It's a general partnership 50-50. I do not have payroll. I have already filed 2019 taxes too. Our business is in a loss. In this situation, which loan program options to file so that way we can get approved? Secondly, I'm also a real estate agent since May of 19, but I do not have any sales transactions for 19. Do I qualify for any loans? I would be more than happy to get your advice. Thank you in advance for helping so many people with guidance and information.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. ROM.
ROM, I would assume.
Yeah. So hey, thanks for tuning in, and again, thanks for the CPAs and tax professionals, EAs, that are a part of what we're trying to do, which is just help people get answers. So first of all, if you have a general partnership, then your K1 should be subject to self-employment tax. And so if you will look at your 2019 tax return, look for a Schedule SE, say it up at the top left, and it'll say self-employment at the top. And that is the determination of your self-employment tax. And the reason that's key is that, in my opinion, based on what I have seen so far, is if you would take that K1 and your Schedule SE, you're a self-employed individual, qualified self-employed individual, that then whatever that dollar amount is, that would be what you would use for the basis of your PPP application. Now, in terms of being a realtor, the look back is 12 months. They are allowing a look back all the way to 1/1/19. So if you don't have any transactions there, it won't be able to help you with the PPP. If you don't have any transactions, you wouldn't be eligible for the EIDL, because the EIDL does ask for what your gross income is. And if you don't have any gross income, it's not going to meet the qualifications of a business that is in business, so to speak. I mean, I understand that, you're in business and you're open for business, but I feel like the EIDL is going to require that. So the PPP for the K1 is the direction that you should go. Whatever that dollar amount is, whatever state you're in, if you just heard what I had recommended to the other individual, which is if the PPP isn't going to generate a ton of money, and you're in a state where you can do the federal unemployment at this point, the delays that we're seeing with PPP for sole proprietors, self-employed, independent contractor, maybe you look at the unemployment. But here's what I would do. Get with your bank. You're going to apply at the individual level. If you happen to have any wages up at the, your general partnership level, the general partnership would file under its EIN for those payroll costs at the top. If you have guaranteed payments, I don't know the proper answer. I know what I think should be, but I've seen banks with guaranteed payments, box 4A, that are including that up at the partnership level in wages, but that has only been when there's been wages in the partnership. It kind of results in 6 1/2 dozen of the other. That's why I feel like the way I would do it if I was the bank trying to figure out, well, what do we do with guaranteed payments? It would be at the individual level, it would be applied for, because that's where that self-employment tax is being paid. So long story short, general partnership, look at your K1. If you have a box 4 and or box 14, you should be qualifying. Look for Schedule SE in your tax return and take those as your substantiation and fill that application out for the PPP in your Social Security number. For the DBA, I probably, because it's going to want to know what business is this related to, I would probably put the partnership name on there, or leave it blank. I understand it's not the partnership that's doing it, but if you have a general partnership, you really have no separate entity there, okay? That's and hence why you have a general partnership. General partnership just being like, hey, let's be partners, and since we've done that, we've got to file a Form 1065, and therefore you are in essence doing that as a DBA, and then your partner, 50%, would do their own application with the PPP.
All right, and then we have Kyle, and watching today in chat as my YouTube name, KWASG3.
All right, thank you.
I basically have learned from you that my legal construct is very poor. With delay of tax deadline and the ability to file for extension until October, could you speak about how wise it would be to use 2019 filings to fix any of this in order to align requirements for available aid? This includes rental of my shop to myself as a strategy and ordinary income from profits of daily activities. I am or was an S Corp, never an LLC or multiple entities as I understand it. This was all originally set up in the 80s with my now retired father and deceased CPA uncle when I graduated college. Should I set up a real estate business and pay 2019 rent to it? There is no way I can make a full payment to that account while being closed by public health mandate right now, but I did pass through at least partial payments continuously for years and still doing so. Not trying to trick the system, just need to extract some help while closed down. Thanks for all your info. You are providing a great service that gives hope in times of need.
Well, you bet. Thank you so much for the email.
Long one, sorry.
Yeah, no, and I just wanted to remind myself here what was the indication here at the beginning. Okay, so includes a rental of my shop to myself as a strategy, ordinary income. Okay, I am an S Corp, never an LLC, multiple entities as I understand it. Okay, so actually, you know, the structure that you have, whether we changed it or not, wouldn't allow you to apply for or have anything different. So should I set up a real estate business to pay 2019 rent to it? So the thing to know on that is that you have to look at, well, what was in play already February 15th? And so you didn't already have paid the rent, so none of that's gonna matter. So it wouldn't be a way to establish a rental business, so to speak. There is and was a benefit to having, you know, your regular business is an S Corp, and then if you own real estate, you have it in a partnership, an LLC, tax as a partnership, just differences of separating out the business for legal purposes, separating out the activities. For those that might be able to sell their business, it would separate that asset out from what they maybe don't have to sell, which is the real estate. And not to mention the liability purposes, I've already mentioned the liability purposes, but when you're then looking at it from other purposes, rent going from your S Corp to the rental property, the rental business, so to speak, you're able to pay, you know, a good fair market value amount of rent, which reduces down the net income from the S Corp. This has nothing to do with PPP or EIDL. But when you're paying rent over, then you have net income that would come from this entity taxed as a partnership. Now you'd have to have another partner. So if you don't have another partner, you wouldn't even be able to do the partnership LLC, and you wouldn't want to own the real estate in an S Corp. But if you were able to have a partner, even if it's your spouse, the rent that's going over here, you know, used to be a strategy where you can say, well, we got rent over here, so I'm able to pull a distribution, so there's less net income over here for the IRS to be worried about when doing wages. Well, then qualified business income came into play, and there's other aspects in the new tax law that have come into play that you would probably want to rethink. Well, does that make sense to do that strategy? So what I would recommend is that you put that real estate in an LLC for liability protection for starters. Under qualified business income, I don't think that you're going to be able to either way get out of whether it's qualified business income or not, because it's a self-rental. It is qualified business income, meaning whether it's in a partnership or whether it's Schedule E, that's going to be treated as active. It's going to be included in qualified business income. So I'm talking way in another direction here, which is just to say, I think the LLC, you don't have to file a separate return, but you can have a single member LLC to be able to protect that. And then if you have the S Corp, you know, you have an S Corp. Yeah, so if you have an S Corp, obviously you are an entity. Many states nowadays, there are different or better avenues for an LLC, but for tax purposes, the LLC doesn't provide anything different or better for an S Corp, so you're probably good there. What you would probably want to do out of that S Corp, though, is be paying yourself some wages. That's really what is required. There's kind of a rule of thumb going around among CPAs that varies, but if you're pulling out 100 grand, you probably want to 60 to 70,000 of that would be wages. The rest would be distributions. So there's a little bit more to that. But at the end of the day, I think the way that you're set up, the rental activity, if you have it as a separate rental activity, which is in your, let's say it's in your social, well, you can go get an EIDL on that if you've already had this rental activity. And then if you have wages at the S Corp level, then you could go get a PPP based on those wages.
All right, and this one is from Candace. I have several streams of income from my self-employment portion of my income. I'm a property manager, bookkeeper, and notary with a tax ID for my business. I do have two 1099s for 19 plus other income. I do not get the 1099, but will report with my income. I have not done my 2019 taxes yet. My question is about rental income. I'm a property manager and I have my real estate license and have income from that many individual owners that I manage their property. In addition, I have a personal rental house which has been accounted for on a Schedule E in a previous tax years. This small business does not have a separate tax ID number and operates as a DBA. However, it does have a separate business checking account. In regards to my self-employment PPP calculation purposes, would I or could I A, include this income as part of my income under my business with my tax ID, B, apply for a separate PPP loan under that DBA for the rental income from my rental, C, neither, or D, any suggestions you may have? Thank you, Candace.
You bet. Thank you for the question, Candace. Hope you're doing well. So the Schedule E won't count because it's not self-employment income. And so even though it has all the other indications of the DBA and I think you said a separate ID number, but either way, Schedule E won't yield any self-employment income. It won't yield then any sole proprietor income, active income, or self-employment tax. So I understand you haven't filed 19. I've just, follow suit, put that on Schedule E. And then all the other things that you're doing, sounds like you are a hard-working individual doing a lot of different things. And hopefully in these times, that's helping a little bit with all that is going on with us. But it sounds as though all that would be on Schedule C. If that is the case, even if you have multiple Schedule Cs, it would be based on the net. And when you get 1099s, if you didn't have any expenses, then of course you're just handing in 1099s. That's kind of more what a self-employed individual is, or I'm sorry, an independent contractor. It's just, I got some 1099s, I don't have any expenses. That's why they're going with 1099s on the gross. But for you, with all the activities, whether you're doing one Schedule C or multiple Schedule Cs, take line 31, the net on all of them. Pick up line 12, 15, and 16 on Schedule 1, which is your HSA, and then your self-employment retirement, as well as your health insurance, deductions, so that you're able to pull all of that together divided by 12, but it wouldn't include the Schedule E. And I think that addressed everything, so great question. And what I'm liking is as we're getting these emails, it's allowing people to kind of lay out a little more of their detail. And when I say they're more thoughtful, it's more able to, list out multiple factors, which is kind of just real life when we're dealing with, what's going on with our own tax return. And when you're dealing with entrepreneurs like yourself, you see opportunities, so you're doing these separate, these different things. The one thing you might consider has nothing to do with PPP or EIDL, but of course it would hurt you if you did this, but you might consider for other purposes, if you ran all of that activity through an S Corp, you would avoid self-employment tax on whatever the net is. Now, of course, this, you'd have to do some payroll. So there's something to weigh there. It kind of depends on, well, what is your net income? Does it even make any sense? Should I even do an S Corp if I have to do payroll when my net's, probably to a level where you would just, go ahead and pay that. But I'm not gonna make any assumptions what you're making because you're doing a lot of different things here. My whole point on that is, you might look at whether or not you just combine all those activities in an S Corp, because at least you would control the amount that is subject to self-employment tax. I usually tell people, if your net's, 50 or less. And 50 or less is after all your expenses, right? I don't mean 50 gross, but 50 or less probably makes sense just to do a Schedule C. I first started my practice when I was 25 years old, almost 28 years ago. Wow, that sounds weird. 28 years ago I started, started my career 28 years ago. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have my 24th anniversary for my firm in May. Yeah, got ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Anyways, when I first started, I'd be like, don't do Schedule C, be an S Corp no matter what. But as I've gotten, more experienced, I'll just put it that way, you might just have a great setup the way that you are. So hopefully that helps, and hopefully you're able to get the PPP. And then you should be able to, based on that Schedule C, be able to get some federal unemployment if you aren't getting a lot from the PPP, and or your state is, got the unemployment up and running.
Well, we answered everybody's questions today, and our 3 CPAs out in the field in the comments have caught up with everybody that's on there. You guys are rock stars.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's really awesome to see that you guys are all pulling together. It does take a village to help everybody out. JJ is doing an amazing job keeping everybody up to date, informed. We have about 108 emails inside of the email that are questions that need to be addressed. So we knocked out I think we knocked out 22 questions from emails today. So we still do have a lot that we have in there that we are going to get everybody addressed. Make sure that you guys have subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you are giving thumbs up, and then I'll let JJ close it out.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And thanks for everybody that's come on for Easter. And we've gotten emails from several that say, hey, you've answered all my questions. I just like to come on and see, everything that's going on. Do know this, we're now going to start going to the other side of, okay, we applied for it, now money's coming in, which is going to start kind of gushing in this coming week, probably for a lot of the sole proprietors, self-employed, independent contractors. I'm hoping by the end of the week, applications are getting in, they're getting approved, and then we're dealing with money coming in, probably then that would be the week of the 20th of April. And maybe by the end of April, maybe doors are opening back up, we're able to go back out, get back into work. And we're gonna be dealing with the forgiveness period, and we're gonna have a lot of questions related to that. So when I went live Monday, the 6th, I thought, well, I'm just gonna go live and answer a lot of the questions, see what questions people have. I was massively overwhelmed by the response, which I really appreciate. It also just shows people are trying to find answers and aren't getting them anywhere, or not as many places. So I was like, well, we'll go ahead and then we'll just do this Monday through Friday. It seemed as though we were not still getting ahead of all the questions. So we did a marathon, 2 different ones, yesterday, Saturday. We've gone here a little over 2 hours. And so I thought maybe we'd come back live today, but I'll just admit it, I'm exhausted. And so what we'll do is we'll come back tomorrow, Monday. I'll just plan to go live all next week at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And on Wednesday, I will tell you this, Wednesday, I don't plan to really answer any questions, but we are going to go live at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'd like to invite all of you and all of those that are watching even later, that we're going to just have a happy hour, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, of just celebrating that it's April 15th. It'll be the first time in my career that it's actually not a deadline, and probably the last time in my career that April 15th wouldn't be a deadline. But usually I'm celebrating April 15th with friends and having a drink and maybe a cigar. So anyways, we're gonna have a happy hour. Join Amanda and I on Wednesday, April 15th at 4 p.m. And then we'll Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll go live. I bet we'll have a lot of these things resolved. And then we'll just see where we're at the week of the 20th. If we need to go live every day as a resource, as it relates to the forgiveness. I am putting together, as we talked about, a reality show, JJ the CPA here. And basically the premise of that is to help a specific business. I'm looking to do that with 3 businesses. I think we've narrowed it down. We've got one in the central part of the US, we've got one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast, and we've actually got 2 additional on the East Coast that we might even just do some mini shows, or so to speak. But the purpose of the purpose of all of that is to show the power of numbers in your business. And it sounds boring, but numbers come alive. Numbers determine so many different things, and how you pay attention to those numbers determines everything. So most employers, most entrepreneurs, most business owners, most sole proprietors, self-employed, they're hustling, and they're hustling for the next deal, and they're hustling. But to look at the numbers, but then project, and how do you project? What are the numbers that you're looking at, and then how does it even apply? So sounds like it could be boring, but does this look like a guy that at all would put together anything that's boring? I'm sure you would say no, assuming that you like this kind of stuff. So long story short, I had put a deadline of April 30th of getting in quote unquote applications. I think I'm gonna just move that back to April, I'm just gonna say April 17th, because we've already gotten a number of individuals that have given us information. I almost feel like we might even already have our 3 based on what I just told you. We might have more. And then what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be picking a time and announcing where we will, is it called a premiere on YouTube? Mm-hmm. Where we'll do episodes, and we'll have set times that they will then come out. We think we'll do 3 episodes a week. That'll be maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30, depending on what's going on in that episode, so to speak. But it's meant to be that each episode would be showing the human side of numbers, showing that there are other people out there that are having similar issues with their business in crisis. And it's not just once we open our doors, we're now at a crisis. Once we open our doors, we're just now starting to recover from the crisis, but then how do you recover quicker? How do you recover well? So thanks for tuning in. Again, we'd love it if you subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. I'm more just sharing this to let you know I do have a book that I wrote, JJ the CPA Here. Thank you so much for those that had bought that this week, or actually in the last couple of weeks. But JJ the CPA Here, you can find it on Amazon.com. And what I do in this is I take the top 60 questions. Very few of them have anything to do with tax. It's banking and insurance and business issues, and it's how to work with your current advisors better. This is not a do-it-yourselfer. This is not how do you go do this all by yourself. What this is how do you work with your advisors better by knowing a little bit more of maybe some foundational information that maybe those advisors already assume you know, and maybe they're the kind of questions you're afraid to ask, but these are the top 60 questions from my clients over the last 27 years that I've put my answers in this book. It reads quickly. I've heard good things about it in the sense that it reads quickly, and each chapter is 2 to 3 pages. So if it's a subject you're not interested in, you can go to the next one. But this is also key in, as we recover, knowing how to work with the rest of your advisors. So in this reality show, I will be including other advisors that are either in the area or friends that we know. We've got people like Justin McAuliffe, CPA, Russell McDonald, that's in the mortgage. We got Josh Jelinski. So depending on what the needs are, we might be able to bring some additional professionals in there. So thank you all again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. What I might do is we might just leave it going for 5 minutes. I'm going to step away. I'm not going to come back. But does it seem like people are still maybe answering questions or?
No.
No? Okay.
No, but Fred Lowe told you that you needed to rest up because they're going to write you in for their choice of president.
Well, that means a lot. I really, really appreciate it, and I'm glad to help. And thank you again to all those that are tuning in regularly, and to all those that are helping with this. And then, you know, I hope that maybe in some ways we're even building a little bit of a community in this crisis to know that we're not alone, especially with the sole proprietors, us small business owners, me included, that there are other people out there, and maybe, you know, there's strength in numbers, so to speak, or strength and encouragement to know that there are other people that are trying to get the same information and that we're not alone in this. So, all right, hey, so thank you again for joining us on this Easter edition. Thank you, Amanda, for everything and making it where we can actually answer the questions as we go along. JJ, the CPA Help.com is a community service website that I created, so you can get a lot of information there, even beyond what we're talking about now. So I did release a video talking about the ERC and where I'm at with that, and which is, the long story short is, I'm telling my clients we're going to hold from filing the 7,200. We're going to wait for further advice, because it does appear that we can file for first quarter, but it does appear that there might be a recapture in second quarter, but it does appear that the ERC only applies to the covered period, which the covered period is only through June 30. So it seems as though we could apply for it after June 30, which would be after the PPP money. So long story short, thank you so much for tuning in. And then I've got to end it by saying, you've never met a CPA quite like me. All right, y'all have a great rest of your day, a great Sunday, and we will see you all tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time.